Supercars are typically known for being crazy expensive, super fast, ultra rare, and kind of unobtainable for your non-rich. But what if I told you that there's a few hidden gems within the supercar circle that are fairly priced and still fantastic cars? You'd probably tell me I'm crazy, right? Wrong. What's going on, everybody? I'm Sean from Fitment Industries, SeanB.fi on Instagram, and today we're going to talk about 5 of the most underrated supercars that have depreciated to an affordable realm. But before we dive right in, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. We upload every single freaking day, and you're not going to want to miss any of the fun. And head over to fitmentindustries.com to get yourself entered into our giveaway to win yourself a set of Rotoform freaking wheels. The first car on this list is probably going to be the most controversial because the main reason these cars are so cheap is because of their questionable reliability. I'm of course talking about the first generation 2003 to 2011 Bentley Continental GT. When these cars came out, they were undoubtedly one of the most popular cars to flex with. MTV Cribs, if you didn't have one of these, you didn't make the show. Music videos, you weren't unless you had a Continental GT. They're elegantly styled with that classic Bentley grille and that crazy Bentley interior, and let's not forget that twin turbo 6-liter W12. But the Continental GT was kind of a bastard child when it came to production. Although they were technically hand built, they weren't coach built like Bentley had been doing in the past. And they also used a lot of parts bin parts from their Volkswagen and Audi counterparts. And with cutting costs to appeal to more consumers, they also cut a bit of quality. And thus you ended up with a Bentley that has your typical kind of used Audi and Volkswagen issues. Electronics quickly became problematic, and the air suspension was known to be unreliable. Window regulator issues were very common, and the drivetrain itself has its own slew of issues, which in a normal car is fine, but Bentley charges 3 arms and 2 legs for the parts. So naturally, the depreciation monster gobbled these things right up. Now, it's not all bad. There's a reason these cars made the list, and it's because they're really not that bad at all. If you scour the forums long enough, you will find cost-effective fixes for these cars. Most of them DIY. The suspension itself can be replaced with cheaper R-Nut brand units, and then they even come with a lifetime warranty. This will inevitably cost you about $2,800 to fix, which is kind of a lot, but you won't have to do it again, and then you'll also be saving about $2,500 then replacing them with OEM unit. And as far as the window regulators go, you can actually buy repair kits for these things, and they're about 60 bucks a piece, instead of replacing the whole window regulator unit for about $500 at the dealership. No matter what, these cars will be expensive to maintain, but with a little bit of elbow grease and some research, you can typically cut 70% of the dealership cost. And for that reason, I dubbed the Continental GT a fantastic value for the money, a fantastic supercar for the money, and underrated. Next up is gonna have to go to the V8 Audi R8. Now, the 4.2 liter Audi R8 always gets the because it's kind of known as the base model R8 or the slow R8. And where that's not exactly false, that reputation gives it the least amount of demand of all the other R8s and most other supercars in its price bracket, thus making it a pretty obtainable supercar, and a pretty damn good one at that. Sure, it's not a V10, but it's an 8,700 RPM screaming V8 developed by Audi Sport Division on a mid-engine race car inspired chassis. And maybe even best of all, the engine itself is based on an engine that already exists in a ton of other cars. So parts costs are pretty manageable, and they're fairly easy to work on. And this is a much better, more capable, more livable option than a Ferrari F430 or a Gallardo, and it costs a good chunk less than those cars because of that reputation of being the base model. This is the gentleman's supercar. It is a bit understated in its looks, it's a good buy, and it's genuinely more comfortable than any other cars in its class, and it's a great value. For that reason, the 4.2 liter Audi R8 is underhyped, fairly priced, and underrated. This next one is a car that's actually been on my personal radar for a little while now, and this is gonna have to go to the Ferrari 456. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this car, it's probably because it didn't get the same kind of attention that the 2-seater 550 Maranello did, which looks a ton better, and came out just a few years after the release of the 456, which is the 4-seater coupe version. But where the 456 shines is its price. Strip away its kind of odd, very 90s exterior, and you have one of the greatest Super GT car formulas of all time. You're looking at a front-engine, rear-drive Ferrari V12 gated manual transmission. All right, now put its body back on, you sick. I don't care that most of you probably think that this car is ugly. It's perfectly fitting for its period, and it was designed by one of the greats to come out of the Pininfarina studio, Pietro Camardella, I don't know how to pronounce it, who also had a hand in designing the Ferrari F40, the 512 Testarossa, the F50, and the Ferrari Mythos concept car. Anyway, the 456's V12 was based on the Dino V6 and made 436 horsepower, which made it the world's second fastest car in the world and Ferrari's most powerful road car at the time of release. The Dino-derived engine also makes it one of the most reliable, and luckily for us, these cars don't have a huge demand because of kind of its looks and can easily be had within the $50,000 price range. An incredible bargain for a car with such fantastic engineering, and for that reason, the Ferrari 456 is one of the best underrated supercars of all time. The AMG GT is one of the most underrated supercars of all time, and for two very major reasons. Mercedes AMG had a lot to live up to outdo the perfect styling of the SLS AMG, and we can all honestly say they didn't really come close. It's not a bad looking car by any means. In fact, it's pretty damn sexy, but it is a bit understated and it doesn't scream "look at me" like the SLS did. The next reason for its underratedness is its drivetrain. It shares the 4-liter twin-turbo V8 that's been used in a ton of different Mercedes AMG models and even your more modern Aston Martins. And it's a fantastic freaking engine. It makes great power, it's easily modifiable, and it sounds just perfect, and it's very reliable. But all those great attributes also make it a little bit less exotic, which is where this car gets its not so supercar reputation, which is unfortunate because the driving experience is 100% super. Fun fact about these bad boys engines is that they have what they call a hot V. So the exhaust ports are actually on the inside of the head and face each other in the center, where the turbos are then mounted. So where the intake manifold usually goes sits two turbos. Apparently it's supposed to help with heat management and decreases lag by quite a bit. It's super neat technology. Anyway, these cars can be had in the mid-70s up to the hundreds, but it's so much car for the money. They're so elegant and tasteful and full of performance for C7 Z06 money. For that reason, the AMG GT is underhyped and underrated. The last car on this list goes out to one of the most hated supercar resurrections of all time, the second generation Honda NSX. The new NSX is a fantastic piece of hardware that is being slept on because people don't take very nicely to sequels. People will beg and beg and beg for a remake, but when they finally get it, if it's anything but a copy of the original, they Honda made a car that is only 0.1 seconds slower to 60 and only 1 second slower on the Nürburgring than the McLaren 650S for half the price, over half. The NSX starts at $150,000, and since they're a refresh, you can actually get a ton of the stuff that makes it a better car as standard, which was kind of one of the big mistakes they made on release. But at the end of the day, you have a small car with nearly 600 horsepower, infinitely adjustable torque vectoring on the front wheels via their electric motors, and a twin-turbo V6 with electric assist on the back. These cars do so much more than their more exotic counterparts with much less, for not a lot of money. In this sense, it is just like the original NSX. And with that weird reputation that they have for not living up to the simplicity of the original, these cars didn't sell all that great. So now you can snag yourself a very capable, very good-looking modern supercar for right around $100,000. And for that reason, the second generation Honda NSX suffers from a falsified bad reputation and is underrated. But that about wraps it up for this special supercar episode of Over Under. Be sure to leave a comment about what supercars you think are underrated or what you think I got completely wrong. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We upload every single day. And if that's not enough for you, we even started a second channel called Fitment Industries Garage because we couldn't fit all the content that we make on this one. So make sure to go check that out from the link in the description. And of course, head over to fitmentindustries.com for all of your wheel, tire, and suspension needs. While you're there, don't forget to check out the giveaway where you can win a set of Rotiform wheels. I'll leave a link for that in the description as well. I'm Sean from Fitment Industries, SeanB.fi on Instagram. Please don't hate me. Peace.